Welcome to Sips with the Surreal.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dina.
We're just three best friends who like to get together and talk books. We would love for you to follow along with us each week, just like a book club. We will tell you the week before what book we will be discussing so you can make sure you've read it. If you check out our Insta, each of us likes to make art, so we will post our art interpretations for each book. And today we have a very special guest, our author, Victoria K. Taylor, here with us. Woo!
Yay!
Thanks for having me. Pause for applause.
Victoria is the author of Fate of Ashes series, which includes A Crown of Star and Ash and The Lady of Fire and Light. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
And here at Sips with the Surreal, we like to pair a drink with the books we talk about today. We created Dea's Elixir.
Now, did we say that right?
Is it Dea or Dia?
Yes, it's Dea.
Dea. Okay, good.
Perfect. That's
my
what I was
first
saying.
instinct.
Names are always tricky. And
Can I tell you?
I feel like I have a whole pronunciation guide on my website because I had one lovely reader who's like, I thought I was pronouncing all the names wrong, and I was like, I had to make one for her.
Oh, I should have looked at that. Now
it's okay. I don't tell people. Like, no one knows. It's just a secret now.
I actually went and I looked because I wanted to make sure that, especially for the interview, we were pronouncing the names correctly. So I think I should say them correctly. We'll see, I guess.
Yes, awesome. I mean, they're not, I didn't think they were too terrible. My mother is horrible with names, and she's like, I think she got most of them, because I think most of them, like, Dea's name is rooted in Greek. Okay. She's actually,
cool.
Like, her name is rooted in Greek mythology from, I think, Deianira is Hercules' wife, and it means the destroyer of men. So, like, it was pretty, that was fitting, so.
And the cover of your books are just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I can't claim any responsibility for that. That was my lovely cover designer, Katie from Story Wrappers. Like, I literally just tell her, hey, here are a couple elements, here are a couple themes, go crazy. And she went crazy. And I'm like, she knocked it out of the park for both of them. And I could not be happier with them. And I literally, as I said, I can't claim any responsibility for it. That was all her. So
no, they're truly stunning. I love it.
I mean, I can't even say thank you because I'd be like, yes, I agree. It was all hers.
You got it. It's yours. Your name is on it. So you say thanks, and then there you go.
Yeah, well, thank you.
All right. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Any hobbies other than reading and writing?
Oh, God. I play a lot of video games. I read a lot of books. Writing was probably my main hobby for many, many years. But I think I was your average reader before I was your writer. So I work. I'm a cat mom. I play a lot of Sims 3 and 4. Which is probably my weird.
I saw that on your website. You said Sims 3 still.
I just switched to Sims 4. I caved. So I'm like, we've been. I call it a time waster. I just waste my time over there now instead of like doing something productive like writing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm very simple. I guess I feel like I'm not interesting.
No.
What is your cat's name?
His name is Sebastian. We call him Beppy. He is a snowshoe Siamese. He's actually on the spine of all of my books. That's my publishing house logo. It's literally him, and because that's what we do.
Yes, how cute!
Well, that's cute. I was like, what is she talking about?
He's snowshoe press. He's a little snowshoe Siamese. So
that's so cute.
And you will probably hear him because he'll be scratching at the door because he does not like closed doors because he's a spoiled.
That's so cute.
That is cute. I love that.
Okay, so that was a fun little tidbit like that. Like a little personal touch in a book.
Right?
Right.
And then you can, definitely take credit for the cover because you added your little kitty gate in there.
Yeah, I love that. That's probably my favorite part of the book.
That's so cute. I love it.
I'll turn over. I have all my books in the corner, because I'll send out stock, and it's just literally Sebastian just stacked on top of each other.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. So cute. All right. So who are your favorite authors, and do you have a favorite book or a book series?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be so basic right now because I'm gonna say Sarah J. Maas. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, of course, but she is the reason I started writing again. I stopped writing for a very long time. Probably I started writing when I was very young, so think the last book I wrote was probably my first year in college. And then during college, I stopped writing for a really long time. And I was always a contemporary romance author. So I never wrote, like, I always wrote contemporary romance. And then after college, I stopped writing. And then it wasn't until I read Court of Thorns and Roses and I think I only got 3 books in the Throne of Glass series, but like it still was enough for me to be like inspired to write again. And like this story popped into my head because I had a whole backstory while I wrote it. But yeah, She Was It. That book series got me back into reading. It got me back into writing. So I will always be thankful for the queen. Harry Potter was also a really, really big influence. That was like growing up. That was my big series. I still listen to it to go to bed at night on audiobook. It's been since I was 3 years old. I've listened to them to go to bed. So like it's a habit I can't kick. So
that's fun.
I can't lie and say Harry Potter was not a huge influence in me. And then surprisingly, Meg Cabot. I don't know if any of you guys were familiar with the Princess Diaries series. That was
okay.
Yes.
Everyone's like, it's never the authors that you would expect because those were like the ones that shaped me, and I probably still will go back to those. My comfort reads. So I'll find so many new amazing authors these days, and I keep picking them up. But like the ones that kind of like were bedrocks in my whole writing and reading journey, I have to say were probably J.K. Rowling and Meg Cabot. So
there you go.
Wow.
Well, you know they're making another Princess Diaries movie, right?
I saw. They were so different from the book series, though. Like I was actually like, I picked up the book series because I was like, I think I was like 8 years old after watching the Disney movie and being like, oh, yay, there's a series. And it was so different, but I love the series. So I highly recommend. They're a little much. They're very, very YA. So if you don't have like a tolerance for it, but I recommend the audiobooks. The first 3 are narrated by Anne Hathaway and they're phenomenal. So
nice.
Yeah. And then after that, it gets less tolerable because Mia is very whiny in the book series. So, like, when Anne Hathaway is not narrating it, it's harder. But I highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, cool.
I love that.
Okay, what's your creative process look like?
Like, how long does it take you to write? I'm always impressed by authors.
Crown Star and Ash was an outlier. I wrote that one in 32 days. And that was going from not writing for about 6 years to this story just kind of like kicked itself out of my brain like the Kool-Aid Man and just like moved to a wall. And I didn't stop writing for 32 days until it was done. And that was an outlier though. My books usually take a lot longer. I definitely like enjoying them a little bit more. So the second book took me about 8 months to write, which is a little bit more normal. But my writing process is usually like for Crown Star and Ash was a little bit different than what I've started becoming because Crown Star and Ash was like, oh, I'm still writing for fun. I'm still writing for myself. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this day. I might put it out for people. I might not. So like I kind of just wrote that one. I have like a basic outline. I call it guidepost outlining. You have like the big scenes and then you kind of like, you know, meander your way towards that and you're kind of discovering the plot along with the characters. So that was a little bit how my process went. And then you kind of let it sit for about a little while before you start in on edits. And it went through 20 something hands with beta readers and just everything for about a year until I started like, you know, the whole process. Nowadays, I plot a lot more heavily because now you're in a giant fantasy series with a lot. I like leaving a lot of little tidbits in these books. So, like, you know, I'll try to foreshadow something in book 1 that shows up in book 3, and so like, it's a lot more planning, and I can't wing it anymore, which is unfortunate. So I do a lot of plotting beforehand, and then it's basically trying to drag myself into sitting down with my ADHD and getting it all done. So that is basically the process now. So
do you write at home? Do you go to like a Starbucks? What do you like to do?
I wish I could write in public. I have not found someplace. Like I live in Florida. I live in South Florida. So like if I was like in the Orlando area, everyone would probably be a lot easier to find places. But I live in South Florida and there's like no coffee shops and nice ambiance places for me to write in. So I write mostly at home. I have like, and then mostly in this room or on my couch or on my laptop. So like, I just got a free Write Traveler too. So which is basically like a distraction-free device that has like nothing else, but like, it's like a typewriter basically. So
that's cool.
Right.
We might be breaking that into it. We might be breaking into that one for the next book.
Now, how many books are in your series?
There are going to be 4.
Okay.
Not including right? Yeah, it's going to be 4, not including the novella. So
Okay.
I
Nice.
totally
Okay.
would include that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's like a 0.5er where you don't really count it.
Yeah. And I'm like, it is, I would say, required reading in the series. So I would probably have to count it.
Yeah. Is there a order where you recommend reading the novella?
I would say as it where it's released. It is a prelude to the second book. It is a lot of build up for the second book. So yeah, I'd probably say right in between book 1 and 2.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Perfect. Love it.
Very good.
So Dina's going to jump in. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead. I was going to say, we're going to jump in with the more character specific questions, and Dina's going to take the lead.
Right. So I know you talked about writing A Crown, a Star, and Ash within 32 days, but what was that initial spark? I mean, I know you said also Sarah J. Maas and the love of reading, but what was it that really put your...
So I had a very traumatic incident that happened to me a couple years back, and it was a workplace related incident. It was one of those incidents that really took a toll on me, and it had a big impact on me. And how I process a lot of things, I like writing them into stories, but it can't be too on the nose. It has to be someplace where I can put a lot of these emotions and a lot of these feelings and experiences, but not have it be my exact experience. So and like I said, I used to always write contemporary romance, and I was like, I can't really figure out how to put what I went through into a contemporary romance. It was just not where I felt like it. And then when I read when I read Throne of Glass and I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, I could actually, a world like this, I could definitely work with. And so the world kind of just spilled out of me. I will say that the reason why that book is written in third person is because of Throne of Glass. I am a first person writer 100%. And then I read Throne of Glass, and it kind of is where my how the formatting is, because it was one of the last things I read, and I kind of think I was I wanted multiple point of views in it, and I wanted it like that, and I did not like how she did that in A Court of Thorns and Roses when she would switch to someone else's point of view and it was third person. I thought it was real weird, so I kept it third person like that. And so that whole incident, it kind of wrote itself, I would say. After I finally got the world in place, the story kind of built itself around the world. The first thing I started with was the World Bible, just building everything from every kingdom, all the culture, all the holidays and everything that it had. And then just characters came out of the world. I think the only character I had planned going in was Dea. And then Caleb shows up out of the World Bible. I didn't plan for him either. He kind of just showed up, and then neither were the other three. Surprisingly, they just came out of the world. So that was probably the biggest part of that.
I love that.
Wow. That was cool.
How hard is it to just interject on Dina real quick? How hard is it to just world build, just make something out of completely nothing?
This was the first time I've done this to the scale. I will say that. My worlds have been very much based in reality. I think it's harder because I'm not I like light fantasy. I will say that. I like fantasy that's easily digestible, and a normal person could pick it up and it doesn't make your head spin trying to keep track of everything. And I think it should be rooted in things that we see in the real world that make sense to the normal person, so that it's a lot of people love the really intense, really heavy fantasy, but it's just not my cup of tea. It's not what I like to read either, because if it's too much, I'm I can't. So I tried to make it as simple as possible. I remember my editor being like, are you sure you don't want to name it something other than fire magic? Right? I'm like, nope, we're keeping it so simple. Yeah, I wanted it to be pretty digestible for the average reader. And so that it wound up just being fun, because once you started getting you once you get going on Pinterest and you start building, and it was the politics around the world, and just being all right, well, if we start with one kingdom who's trying to take over everything, then what other dynamics do you have in the kingdoms? Who would have fallen? Who would have joined them? Who would have collapsed? And that was pretty fun to figure out personalities within all these places and kind of slot them all in. And then, like I said, it just wound up building itself after that.
It kind of makes sense that you like The Sims so much, and
I was just thinking that as I was saying that. I was
world.
like, yeah.
Like that when you were like building, I was like, oh, no wonder she loves The Sims and she liked this, and it was so easy for her to build this world because
like
you like to build things. That was really cool.
Yeah.
That's like, you always have to, like, every time I go into a sim family, I'm like, okay, what's the dynamics in here? What are we thinking here? So yeah, it's definitely, so I say, I think it's kind of wastes the author brain, because I just go in and I use The Sims instead of like writing it.
Hilarious. I love that.
Hey, that's your process. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah. Full circle moment right there.
I did like the simplicity. Like, it didn't feel overly complicated. And I did appreciate that, because sometimes, like you said, it can just get too much. And just having something as simple as fire, like you can keep track of it throughout the story easier.
Yeah, so that was my biggest thing, especially when you have a lot of politics to build on and there's a lot of history in a big world. And that was what I appreciated about Sarah J. Maas's Court, Thorns, and Roses, because it's definitely like all the fantasy, like hardcore fantasy readers hate on it. But it's like it bridged the gap between the romance readers and the fantasy readers. With like the romance, I read contemporary romance as fun. That's my normal genre to read. So like being able to get a little taste of the magic that I love, that's like in Harry Potter and everything, was like super cool. And I loved going back to that. So like I did want to keep that balance so that a person that doesn't really read fantasy could still pick it up and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
So Dea undergoes some significant growth from healer to rebel. What, I'm assuming it has something to do with maybe something that you experienced, but what it really inspired that transformation? Like, why did you choose healer to rebel?
I mostly, it was her power that I really wanted to look at, because that power was something that I always felt inside. Like, I feel like everybody can kind of relate to like a pain, internal like emotional pain that you feel like you could scream and like the whole world should explode with you. And that was a pain that I always had pictured in my head for a while, and I really wanted to explore that. And I thought, what is the most devastating flip that could happen for that power to change? And that would be life turning into death. And that was what her healing magic was. So I really want the antithesis of what that death and destruction was, because I wanted it to be that much more detrimental to her. Because at her core, that was who she was. She was life, she was goodness, she was purity, and that's why I wanted that big shift.
I feel like her character, like, I feel like sometimes she could be me. Like, just how you explain that. Like, I feel like, you know, some days I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be this helpful pharmacist healing person. But there's days where I just want to, like, crumble it all to the ground. So very relatable.
Yeah, that's like the highest compliment you could give, because obviously, like, you know, I take a lot of my own personal emotions and a lot of my own personal experiences, and that's what makes my writing like so personal to me. And I'm usually really private with it, so like I never tell people I write books. I tell my parents, don't tell anybody, like don't tell my friends, don't tell my family, like nobody knows, because it's like giving my journal out to people and like a bunch of strangers. I can tolerate it because they don't really know me, but like my family, my friends are gonna be like, so who's this? And I'm like, no, I can't do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And it's difficult to make a relatable character, so that's a gift that you can do that.
Thank you. It's a high compliment. Like I appreciate that, because a lot of people are like, she's whiny, and I'm like, well, you know,
no, I didn't feel that from her. No, I didn't feel that way. There's some characters where I'm like, yeah, this girl getting on my nerves, but I never felt that way with Dea. No,
yeah, I'm glad. Some people say it, and I'm like, okay, you're entitled. My sister was one of those people.
My sisters can be harsh.
Speaking from experience.
We're sisters, so.
Yeah.
Like I'm like the Lady Fire and Light was dedicated to her, and so she was like very happy with that book. So I was like, I can't. I'm like, fine, you just won't like Dea. She always loved Val, so.
Aww.
I'm like,
Val is a great character, actually.
And she is the crowd favorite. She's definitely the one that everybody winds up choosing over everybody else, which is really funny to me, but not surprising, because I have also gravitated towards loving to write her.
Yeah, it seemed like a fun. I mean, it was a quick, fun read.
Yeah, I just looked at your dedication to your sister. That's so sweet. To my sister for always being my other half. I love that.
We call ourselves two halves of one whole idiot. Like we share one brain cell. So
I'm stealing that.
Does she live near you? Are you guys close?
Yeah. She lives like maybe like an hour, not even an hour from me. So we see each other pretty often.
Oh, good.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's good. So one of my favorite questions to ask is, if your book was adapted into a film, movie, Netflix series, who would be your dream cast for your main characters?
Oh gosh, see, I am one of those people that do like any book too, not even just mine. I have to have like an actor in my brain, and I wind up just using the same actors over and over again because my head can't hold faces very well apparently. So Dea has always been Lily Collins to me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's always who she's been. Like, but like Lily Collins back when she was a little bit younger, because like. Okay. I think like as like not like the Emily Cooper one from Emily in Paris, probably the abduction one or the Snow White ones.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Caleb was tough. I think because he like the only person that like as far as character design goes, Geralt, like he was The Witcher, like 100% inspired by that because his inspiration photo was actually inspired by fan art from something from The Witcher, but not Geralt. It was another character like in the Wild Hunt that was inspired by him, but. I think in the face, he was not Henry Cavill, which is surprising because Henry Cavill's like my go-to. He was like my Roman Empire. So I think he was like Matthew Daddario was like his main face in my brain for a while. It's shifted as I've gotten a lot more character art done, and some of like my artists have done some amazing things with them. So he's kind of like this weird amalgamation of Henry Cavill and Matthew Daddario now. Like, that's just where he's at.
You can't go wrong with Matthew Daddario.
I know. But with him with white hair, it's so hard to picture, though, because he's got such dark features. But I love that about him. So Val was... I never had an actress in mind for Val. There's very few redheaded actresses, and that's kind of upsetting.
It's one of our biggest problems when we fan cast redheads.
Yeah. We like, make our own fan casts.
I'm not going to lie to you. The person I had in mind for her was a stock model.
Get out.
I found her and I was like, oh, okay, I can roll with that. But I think I wound up finding an actress. I think her name is, she's like from a Daria. I forget what her name is, but she was I'll have to find her name, but like, because I think she's like from Eastern European area. I'm not entirely sure, but she's not an actress, but she is like the face I wind up using when I go and ask people for it, but definitely not a well-known name. And then Raynor was actually an Alex Pettyfer, like a mix between Alex Pettyfer and Jamie Campbell Bower.
Yes. Okay.
Always looked very mermaidish to me. Like that bone structure is very
yeah.
So
Alex
it's probably my. Oh, and then Eris was what was his name? Sean O'Pride.
Oh, okay.
I do like Eris. I was a fan.
That is my Roman Empire in my books. Like I think I automatically gravitate towards him and Val and not Dea and They weren't even planned either. Like those two came out of nowhere. Like Eris was not a planned character. When he shows up in Lights Tower, that's when I met him too. I was like, oh hi, nice to meet you.
Hello.
When you met him, I like the way you said that.
Huh?
I like the way you said that when I met him too.
I was like, oh hi. Yeah, and then he became a huge, like, a main character, and I was like, oh, it was very surprising. But I'm not mad about it. I'm so happy that, because he's such an interesting character for me. And I never, like, he's one of those characters I did not give a point of view to, because I was kind of scared to get into his head. Mm-hmm. But I have started writing, like, I have bonus features from his point of view in Akasa, and I have a prequel that I started writing from him. And
oh, cool.
Like, maybe one day I can get that out, like, when I finish this series, because there's a lot of spoilers. There's a lot of stuff that he doesn't say, which is why I can't give him a review.
No.
So.
But you know what? A good bonus chapter after is always fun to go back and reread.
Oh, my gosh. I live for bonus chapters.
I'm holding on to it until after book 2 comes out, because there's a lot of spoilers in it, so.
Good for you.
Okay, good. That's a good plan.
That's
awesome. Well, it makes me excited, too, because you said the Lady of Fire and Light, that part, that's, like, going into the second book. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, it's like a little side thing. And then, but,
it's a huge build up into the book and the second book. So and it's a lot of prevalent information. I actually have to probably put like a little thing in the beginning, like, hey, because I feel like not a lot of people even realize that the novella's there. I definitely like, that was kind of like a sleeper release. So like, I don't know if anybody even realized, some people don't even realize it's there. So I might have to.
We need to promote that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I love the novella. I love the cover the most on that one. I think
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I know we kind of touched on the characters' names, but I mean, how did you come up with them?
They were all like in the World Bible. I did have like kind of a naming convention. Like every region had to have kind of a root in where everything was. So like a lot of like the Gania area, it's all Greek roots, which is why Eris is named Eris. And like I feel like I have like a couple of the like Lanimores from like Old Germanic. The Melians were all Latin based. The Nadarians were a little bit trickier because they were all kind of something rooted in like the stars, the constellations, the planets, which all kind of wind up being Greek just because of the whole where that all comes from. But Caleb's name specifically means the heavens, so that's why I picked his name. Val, I think Val and Rainer were just they were just normal names. Dea's was chosen specifically, obviously, and Dea's name was hard for me. Like that was the biggest one where I was like, I don't know what to name you. That was the one that did not feel right for a really long time. So Dea was a hard one, and even then it took me a while into using her name for it to feel like it was correct. So
interesting.
Yeah. Do you think it's because she kind of like holds the glue to everything, that everything kind of builds around her?
Yeah. And I'm like, I was very difficult to like think of a name that was big enough to like hold it and like also not be a little like not cliche, but like overused because there's like there's a lot of like Aelins and Arwins and just there's a lot of those in the fantasy world, and I didn't want something super common. Yeah. And I also didn't want something super hard to pronounce. Like, I remember that I chose Dea. My sister was like, it sounds like Feyre.
Oh, no.
I was like, no, I was trying to avoid that. So
no, I don't think so.
No.
I didn't even
very different.
think that.
I didn't think so either, but my sister.
Yeah.
Did she like ACOTAR?
I made her read it, and she did really like it. So, yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah. Too funny. So what was the hardest scene for you to write? Was there any? I mean, because I know you said it kind of just poured out, but was there a hard scene?
I would say, I mean, now I'm trying to look back, like so much has changed since I wrote that book. And it's like, I wish I could go back to that time. Like, honestly, as far as Akasa, the hardest scene I had to write was honestly, it might've been the whipping post scene. Like that one probably was a hard one to write. But not in the way that it was hard. Like it came out really easily, and that was really helpful. But it was just tough because I went, oh my God, am I actually doing this?
Right.
Like, I don't want to spoil. I don't technically want to spoil it, but like I feel like everyone kind of knew pretty soon what happened on that one. But I think that was the first shock of the book. But even my dad's not a reader. And we just lost him like last month, so it's been a tough couple of months. So it's been a couple weeks, but he actually got about 100 pages in, and he was like, "I can't believe you did that to Oz."
Oh no!
And I was like, "He goes, can you put pictures in the next one?" So I'm like, as far as Akasa is probably the hardest. The last book was harder, I would say. I had a lot more scenes that were harder to write. And now going back, I'm going through the editing process with it. Now it's probably coming back to me. But since I lost my dad, I wound up kind of adding a little bit more to it because and it's not technically a spoiler, but a lot of the second book is Val dealing with the grief of losing her sisters. So there's a lot of fodder for me to dump a lot of the stuff that I've been going through in here into there. And it's not a lot because I don't want to rewrite the whole thing because it needs to come out in the next couple months. But there was one really hard scene without spoiling it, one of the endings that I actually cried writing, and that's very rare for me. So I can't wait for you guys to read the second one.
I got chills.
I'm very excited.
We're so sorry for your loss.
I know.
Yeah, it's been tough. He was one of my biggest fans.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
So, what inspired the magic system? What inspired the magic system and the way that Dea's power is manifest?
I think the magic system was probably like once more rooted in me trying to be super simple about it. And I think like a lot of how I don't even want to say this. I feel like I out myself. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, that's where she got it from." But I feel like a lot of how I worked the balance of it was maybe a little bit inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender. I kind of really liked how each kingdom had like an element attached to it. I liked how it had like a balancing like, and there was a little bit of that going through it. So I did really like that. I think I did kind of play on that. I think the only one different was the celestial magic. That one was a little bit different. I think that one was just honestly, like I said, like a bunch of visuals from each kingdom. Like when I was just trolling through Pinterest, and it wound up just being like I loved the aesthetic of it. And I was like, let's build a world around that. So I think that's where I wound up getting that from. Daya's magic, I know I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but yeah, her magic was 100% the physical manifestation of anxiety and grief and trauma. And that's why I really wanted that to be like a physical representation of what trauma does to you, because it physically changed how she dealt with things and how she existed, and not being able to control it, how it exploded out of her a lot of the times, how it's triggered in moments when she's really, really upset. That was 100% intentional, because I wanted that, because the experience that inspired this story gave me CPTSD, and the way that I wound up reacting to the world and reacting to a lot of things got really screwed up. And I felt like someone kind of like reached into like my body, like it's like a, you know, like a television box, and pulled out all the wires and plugged everything back in wrong. And I felt like I lost a big part of my identity. And like, I didn't know, like I was kind of like at the victim. I was like a victim of my own brain a lot of the time. And I kind of resented the event that took place that took that from me. And that was kind of what inspired a lot of it. So I really wanted to explore those feelings and hope that, you know, some people would relate to it.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one of the magical abilities would you pick if you could?
You know, I feel like I would take I think I would take celestial magic, because there's like such an array in there. Yes. But like, it does depend. This is me being like, I haven't really said this in the book, but I know how my world works. It's that, you know, certain families get certain things. So I think unless they're like really powerful in that world, I will not get gravity magic and the ability to read minds, which is kind of unfortunate. Like, I don't know which one I would choose. I feel like gravity magic would not be as interesting as reading people's minds. And
I don't know if I want to read people's minds. I have too much in my own mind.
That's true.
I don't want to know what people are constantly thinking.
You know, that's true. If you have anxiety, you already have that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It might be too much. Can't deal with
maybe I was like, maybe I would maybe just for the portal magic. I think only one person can do that. Just to find a portal, that'd be awesome.
That's it.
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
That's
winner.
The one.
Ding ding.
Yeah.
So one of the quotes that I absolutely loved was, "From your ashes, you will become steel." I think that's so beautiful. And I just want to know, like, I guess we kind of like talked on it, but inspiration behind that quote, like what made you do, you know, from your ashes becoming steel?
Well, I really wanted to demonstrate like the strength that comes out of going through something horrible. And I have a really hard time writing really marketable quotes. Like that one, I was like, I needed something. I really wanted it too. Cause like, obviously like sometimes you'll kind of go back in towards the later drafts and like, be like, kind of like clean things up a little bit. And I knew that they had that conversation with him and Deo were in there for a while. And I'm like, I really wanted it to be something a little bit more poignant in there. So I definitely wanted, that was kind of the inspiration from that, was having something become stronger. I was like, Phoenix ashes, like it was kind of like something like that. Right. So I was glad. I'm like, this is never happening again. I don't think I'm ever going to have a quote that is that good in a book again.
That must be so hard, and like the pressure on an author to write something that's like such a catchy phrase that people remember it forever. But I think that
it's worse in traditional publishing because they want that, and that's something I have learned as an indie author. Like, right to market, I did not think it meant what it meant when I first started this, but now I know, and that was right to market. You have to write something like you have to have a tagline in there. You have to have a scene that's really marketable, that showcases the tropes, that you can have all these things. And it's something that I'm like, it's my weakest point in there. I try, but it's definitely not, it's not easy. So.
Well, we're fans. We think it's great.
No, it was very good.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So Lady of Fire and Light, we get a backstory into Val. Is there plans? I know you kind of said maybe there might be some more backstories on other characters.
There is. You'll get a lot more answers in the second book. And that's why I'm like, if anybody feels like I need more, that was because it does prelude into book 2. And you will get, I know a lot of people want to know where Eris came from and a little bit more about it. I think that was my biggest, what everyone asked was like, I need to know more about Eris, and you will get your answers in the next book. You do find them, you do learn more about all the characters. And like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Skins, like the UK show Skins.
No.
It was really big back in the early 2010s. So like Effie Stoneham was like every Tumblr girl's dream back in like the early 2000s. So Skins had like a big cast of characters, and every episode focused on one character, and they would make up one season, and the end of the season would be all of them. And that's kind of how I still do this in all my books. I wind up having like one character, like all the characters show up, and then I try to have like one character get their like little spotlight in every book in the series. So the next book, Val has a huge role in it. So Val's got a big role in book 2. Rainer's got a big role in book 3. So you do kind of wind up finding more and more about them as they go along. So
gotcha.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, good.
So you kind of said too that there's a little bit of Easter eggs here and there in your stories, right? So do I need to go back and reread and like really pay attention?
That's my goal. Was like my she's my PA. My PA just finished reading A Throne of Frost and Flame. Oh my God, okay, that's a mouthful. And she's like freaking out at the end, and I was like, go back and look at book 1 and the novella. There's like a bunch of little things, like little hints that I dropped in there, and also things that I just I won't say. And it's like they're details. I just like the little details. I'll just drop them in there. But if you don't notice them, it won't break the story. But I want them in there. So
reread.
Yeah, I love doing that.
Will you tell excited. When the whole series is done? Then will you go back and give hints to your eggs?
If somebody ever like comes up to me and goes, I noticed this. Is this true? I'm like, oh my God, yes. Please let me talk about them with you, because no one. I don't have this fan base yet. Like I don't have a fan base like the Taylor Swift fan base that's like only my glasses.
Your Fireflies. You don't have your Fireflies yet.
I mean, I do have a wonderful street team that are named the Fireflies, and they're lovely. But they're
super cute.
I know they have to read book 2 first, and I'm curious if any of them will pick it out. So we'll see.
Love it.
Exciting.
My goal, I think every author's dream is to have like a bunch of people theorizing about where the books are going and having theories about their characters and the backstory. So that is definitely a goal.
So if anybody starts having these theories, they should shoot you a DM or reach out.
Okay. You heard it here, guys.
Okay. Good to know. So that'll be happening now when book 2 finally comes out. We'll be hitting you up.
I was gonna say, silence my DMs and then telling me about reactions and stuff fuel me. So please do.
Oh, good. Good to
Unless they're mean, don't do that.
No, we don't encourage that.
No, trolls not allowed.
No. So what's been the most rewarding part of sharing your story?
I think it's having people come in and tell me how much it helps them with their PTSD and their anxiety. And I've got a few people actually come in and tell me that, and like tell me a little bit of the stories. And that's like amazing. Cause like honestly, going into this as an indie author, and like, I always wanted to go traditionally published. That was always my goal. And I didn't even try with this series. I went, nope, I want full control over it. No publishing house is going to let a newbie come in and do a novella the minute the first book is released. There's no way it's going to happen. I'm not going to do it. So having even people find these books have been so crazy to me. Like how many people have read it, how many pages have been read on Kindle Unlimited. It's just wild to me every single day. And when they actually reach out to me and tell me how much of an impact this book has had on them, it's just so surreal. And I still don't really comprehend it a lot of the time. So I'm very, very thankful for it. So it's been pretty cool.
That's amazing.
That is
I love
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last thing that I have on my little section is what's one question that you wish interviewers would ask about your book but haven't, or we haven't touched on?
Oh. I don't know,
Any
actually.
secrets you want to spill?
I don't even know. You guys actually these are pretty in-depth questions, honestly.
I got you thinking.
And I'm like, I hope you know, like, if I stop talking, it's because I have a really bad habit of chit-chatting. And I think the last podcast I did, we chit-chatted like the entire length of time. So I'm trying to shut my mouth and like be like,
no,
that's what we do on this podcast.
People want to hear you, not us, on this episode.
I'm we like have sitting there like running my mouth. Like,
no, you're fine. We have a terrible habit of going on tangents, so you're
this
good.
Is very structured.
I'm trying to be, because it's such a bad habit of mine. I don't know what I'm gonna turn back on you guys. Is there any question that you guys always wanted to ask an author and like never did or got to, or because I'm like, I've been blessed. I never thought I'd even be able to be asked questions about my books. So like, this is always a gift.
Do you have a guilty pleasure read?
Oh God, yes. I read so much. I read so much smut.
There it is.
me and one of my reading buddies that is now become a very good friend of mine, that was started out as one of my ARC readers, and is now one of my really good friends, like just swap the nastiest recommendations, and I love it.
Send it my way. I'm the smutty one of the group.
The reverse harems are my personal guilty pleasure.
Yes.
I swear to God, I've been reading the Bonds That Tie series, and it's gotten me through this whole period right now, which is surprising because I started the first book and I was not enjoying it. I was struggling through it. And then when my dad passed, I was like, I blew through like 3 books, and I was like, thank God there's so many of them. They're so long.
I'm gonna immediately put that on my
That tie. That
TBR.
Sounds right up your alley.
I'm like, that one, but I'm like, I won't lie to you, that's the first like supernatural fantasy one that I've read. Lily Gold is like my favorite of the reverse harems. That's all she writes. Like, that's like her. I think she's only got like 3 or 4 books out. Like, that woman needs to produce more, else I'll cry.
Is she faking with benefits? Is that her?
Yes. That was her. There's so many. I read nothing but like contemporary spicy romance novels.
I like some chili peppers.
That's okay. I just finished reading Pucking Around and Mamma Mia.
I couldn't get into that one. I think I started with the novella.
I don't think I could get into it. I mean, just from hearing about it seems a little much for me. But
I started with the novella, and I'm like, because I know she's like, okay, start with the novella, and I couldn't. I don't know.
Oh no, I did start with the novella too. You're right.
You did like it?
I did. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
It's on like I haven't fully discarded it yet. Like, it's like,
I would say give it another whirl. It is the smuttiest thing I've ever read in my life, and it was fantastic.
That's the most. I love that. I'm like now these books. I love Kindle Unlimited. The best purchase I've ever made in my life.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I earn it back in spades every time. I love it.
Oh yeah. Right.
I think I don't know what is your guiltiest pleasure of a book? I have to look at my Kindle library about, like, I save these like they're shrunken heads, like they're trophies. I'm like, which one? Oh God, Credence. That one will go down.
That's recently on my list too. I've heard great things about that.
I will reread those chapters. I'm like,
really? Oh, it's getting bumped up the list then. Okay.
It's like, I feel like I need to take a shower after I read that book. Like, sometimes like a cold one, but like it needs to have soap. Like, I love Penelope Douglas, but I could not get into her Corrupt series, and I know that's a big one for her. And I just couldn't. That one I couldn't do. It was a little too hefty for me.
Okay,
but the rest of them,
I'm living for this right now. Thank you.
No, I'm like, yeah, that one. But I did start reading like really sweet, like cozy fantasies.
Okay.
So Tissonia Odette has been a recent favorite. She's another indie author who's got lovely, beautiful books, and made me so happy. So if you guys ever need like a happy, sweet rom-com that takes place in a fantasy world, 100% recommend Her Rivalry of Hearts. That's probably my favorite of 2024. and I read it in December, so that's high praise.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Like that sounds like me and Danielle's alley, right?
Hey, I like that too.
Banter.
And Jenna, yeah.
I just like to mix it up with some hardcore smut every now and then.
It's not filthy, which is kind of I would have preferred it filthier, but like the banter and the characters were just so good, and I forgave it.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. All right. I just put it on my TBR. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go into some rapid fire questions.
This is our first time.
Yes, this is our first time doing this segment, so bear with us. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay. Tamlin or Kale?
Oh,
Who's
God.
worse? Who's worse? I should specify.
Who's worse, or who would I choose if I had to save them in a fire?
Ooh. Okay, no, I like your version better. Who would you save in a fire?
How do you pronounce his name? Kale?
We say kale.
I always thought it was Cole at first, but it's kale.
And according to the pronunciation guide, I thought it was kale.
It's like kale.
I'll take kale.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I can agree.
Respect.
Okay.
We should actually. I'm going to change this, Dina. Paperback, hardback, or Kindle?
Ooh.
I read all my books on Kindle.
Okay.
On my phone.
Because it's always
Kindle.
right there. Yeah.
And I take it everywhere, and nobody can see the cover.
Yes. Most importantly.
Smart. That's I didn't even think about that. Early morning reader, or are you like a 2 a.m.er?
I'm a late nighter. It's usually my wind down. Yeah.
Samesies.
Okay.
Do you like a twisted plot or some romantic tension?
Romantic tension.
Yeah.
My yes, 100%.
Okay, and a Crown of Star and Ash specific one. Would you rather have magic that heals or magic that destroys?
Probably take magic that heals. I cannot be trusted with magic that destroys. I'm too, especially if I'm driving, the road rage is too much.
Well, we've been to Florida. Can I say I hate all the Florida drivers?
Yeah, we'll run you off the road.
There's like no happy medium. Either it's the old people who shouldn't be allowed to drive, or it's the crazies.
I am the crazies. I am one of those. My boyfriend's usually next to me, like holding it, like oh my gosh. So
praying for himself.
I definitely got some road rage in me, so I cannot be trusted. If I can, because I swear to God, sometimes I'll Thanos snap when I'm driving, like.
Yeah, we'll give you the healer magic, not the.
You're not
a healer.
You're not allowed to have the destroying magic.
No. As a healer, I could do more good.
There you go. There you go. So funny. So as we wrap up, let's go to like our conclusion questions. You said you were working on book 2, and you hinted that it's coming out in the next couple months. Do we have a specific date?
I do. I haven't dropped it yet, but I will say it's in March.
Okay.
Well, that is soon.
That's very soon.
I didn't think I'd be able to hit it because I was literally about to I had one round of edits left, and then when all of this my dad happened, I was like, "There's no way." But my dad was such a big proponent of this, was so excited and over the moon about this. So I'm like, there's one thing that I can drag myself out of bed to do every day. It's gonna be this. So I couldn't do it in the big enough. As big as I wanted it to be. I really wanted to put a lot into this release, and the street team was supposed to be way more intricate, but I was my brain is like Swiss cheese right now, so we're just gonna do what we can do and hope that it all goes smoothly, and
I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for it though. I'm really excited to see the reactions for it. This has been a labor of love for a very long time. So
good. Okay.
Well, give yourself some grace. So I'm sure it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Where can listeners connect with you online? Your website, now that I have to look at the pronunciation, if you want to shout it out, and your Insta.
I am, it's my website's Victoria Taylor. Oh my God, VictoriaKTaylor.com. And my Instagram is at Victoria K Taylor Books. I am mostly on Instagram. I just started looking at TikTok, which is probably not wise. I just hit 1,000 followers on TikTok, and everyone's gonna be like, so I'm like, I'm glad I wasted that time in there. But like, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I'm definitely way more active on Instagram. I'll probably like and respond to you faster than you would like me to. So.
Sounds good. And we'll link, everything on our show notes and on our Instagram, so you can find Victoria or Tori and read all her books, obviously.
Yep.
So anything that you want our listeners to know or your readers to know before we say goodbye and wrap up?
I have my cover reveal for book 2. It is coming on the 24th.
Of this month.
Ooh. 24th of this month. It should have been sooner. I'm sorry.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I've been sitting on it for a little bit. So the cover is coming on the 24th, and with the release date, which I already kind of spoiled, but
do we
I'm
get
happy.
just like a color hint? Because we got green, we got. I knew it was going to be blue.
I was going to say blue.
Yeah. A Throne of Frost and Flame. We're going to be heavy blue. So I feel like just from the blurb, I don't know if you guys have read the blurb, you can kind of guess where this book is taking place. What kind of is coming. If you've read the novella, you kind of know where this is going, what direction, I feel like. So,
okay.
So
I like
and
how
we'll get little Sebastian too, right, on the side.
Oh, of course.
Fine.
Can't have a book without him.
Yes.
I like how we're moving from fire to ice. That's very cool. That seems very perfect lineup.
Yeah, I kind of was jealous that George R. R. Martin took a Dance of Frost and was it the Dance of Frost and Flame or something? Because Dance of Fire and Ice, that's what it was. I was like,
yes.
Good title, and he took that one, so I had to. My titles are already not very inspired. I'm not great with titles, so like.
I like that.
No, they're perfect.
Yeah.
I think you might be a little too hard on yourself.
I am a little bit. Everyone's like, I think somebody on my first mean comment on TikTok was like, why all these books have the same title? I was like, really?
Oh my God.
It's a genre.
Sarah J. Maas.
The worst.
It's a genre, guys. It is a marketing thing.
They have to flow. Right?
Yeah. I'm not kidding you not. This was a tidbit. I'll throw this in as a tidbit. My book came out around the same time as Carissa Broadbent's The Ashes of the Star-Cursed King. And I remember I was kind of like torn because everyone was like, you should change the title because it sounds too close to that one. And I went back and forth on the title. I think one of the throwaway titles that I was between with this one was Ashes of the Star Kingdom. And that was one of the only other titles. And I went, nah.
No, I like this better.
I do too. I like this one better. And it also shows up in the book. So I'm like,
yeah,
we're just going to roll with it. But that was a small tidbit. You guys have got 2 fascinating tidbits that no one else did between that and Daya's name.
I love it.
So
Thank
lucky.
you for sharing.
Yeah, and so today's aspect of what no one asked Tori, but I told you guys anyway.
No, give us some stuff. No, we love it.
Stop. So everybody who's listening, please stop what you're doing right now. Get the book. Go download it on your Kindle. Do whatever you need. Go get both books, A Crown of Star and Ash and The Lady of Fire and Light. And then in March, we will keep an eye out for that release date.
We will share and post all the fun stuff.
Absolutely. 100%.
Thank you guys. I had so much fun. So thank you guys. It's a really nice little break from the last couple of weeks. So this has been fun. This has been fun. Thank you guys so much for having me.
I know life has been crazy by you. So we super, super appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, this was good. I was like, this has been a break from the what you can imagine. So thank you guys for having me. It's been an honor.
Absolutely.
I saw you had on here last time. I was like, man, I'm following up after that. I'm like, oh god.
No, you're
like, who is this?
No, you're so fun. Everybody should know about you.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate you guys.
You were very easy to talk to, very down to earth. It was wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. A little bit too much. You guys have to give me like a 2-hour segment where I just yap.
No.
We'll
when the series is finished, then we'll have you back on. And we'll do a whole complete review.
But I don't want to wait that long. I want her have her back on after book
the
2.
next book.
Anytime you guys want. I'm happy to. I'll bring wine next time so I can sip with you guys.
Ooh, yeah. We'll come up with a new cocktail.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Firefly inspired.
There is a drink in the next one. It's called Frostfire Mead. So maybe we can like.
Well, there we go.
Oh, well done.
It's like a spiced rum.
We'll
I feel like it's like a
collaborate.
spiced. Yeah.
Spiced rum. Okay.
The next book is going to be a cocktail book.
I'm ready.
Let's do this. It's happening.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, all right. So make sure everybody you follow us wherever you listen, rate and review, please. Please follow us on Instagram at Sips with the Surreal, SURIEL. Click our Linktree bio and follow us on Goodreads. We will also put our episodes each week on YouTube. So please subscribe in the same name, Sips with the Surreal. And thank you so much to Victoria Tori for being with us. And friends, keep reading to whatever end.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.